Hi guys, welcome to this video tutorial on ASP.NET Core 2.1 CRUD application on a Mac. In this video tutorial, I will show you how you can test the APIs that you created using an application called as Postman. Postman is an application that's free and it's available to download. All you have to do is download the application for Mac and then just run it, and then you will have something like this. You can close this, and then all you want to do is go ahead and run your application. Once your application is up and running, copy the port number, and then all you want to do is go to your Postman, choose get, because now we are going to test our HTTP GET request for employees, and then paste the request here. And the route that we need to access our controller is API forward slash the controller's name. So it's API forward slash, our controller name is employee. And that's how we can access our get employees method. Now our get employee method is going to return a list of employees from the database. So let's first provide the headers, that is content type should be application JSON format, and then all you want to do is hit send. So we receive an empty array. That's because our database and the employee table doesn't contain any data for employee. It's blank. Also, when you hit the send button, if you get an error here saying some SSL certificate was not valid, just go to settings and check off this option, which is SSL certificate verification. That's it. And then you should be able to call this web API path. Now the get method is working fine, and what we want to do is we want to add an employee using the post method that we created, and we want to post the information to our database. So our content type remains application forward slash JSON under headers. Go to the body because we need to send the information from the body. And what we are going to do here, we are going to select row and we are going to enter the information in JSON format. So we need to provide the first name, and finally, so the last name, and finally we want to provide the phone number. And it can be anything. Now, what we want to do is we want to hit send and post the data to our database. Now, we don't have to enter any ID. That's because the ID is automatically generated using Entity Framework Core. So what we are going to do is hit send, and if the response is a success, which means that the employee is created successfully, we are going to receive a JSON result saying employee was created successfully. And if the call fails, then we receive an error while creating a new employee. So let's test it. Go ahead and click send or hit send. So employee was created successfully. That means our API is working fine. Now what we want to also check is go back to our get method that's there and just hit send again to check if we are still getting an empty array. And when I hit send, now I get my newly created employee with ID 19, Mr. John Smith. Now let's go ahead, open Azure Data Studio and check if we are still getting an empty table or we have a new employee created. When we run this, we are getting John Smith. So employee is created. Now what we want to do is go ahead and test our put method, which is to edit our employee data. So let's go ahead, go to Postman back. Now change this request to put. Just copy this array here so that we don't have to type bunch of information again. Go to your headers, leave this as content type as application JSON, go to body and select raw. Now for the body, paste this information here. All you want to do now is you want to change this John to Mary because we are editing the employee information. We'll change this to Mary Peters, and we will change this phone number to 99999 just for testing purposes. Okay, and now what we are going to do is we are going to hit send, but you have to see that the push HTTP put method requires us to provide the ID of employee to our route to make sure that it is editing the right employee. So therefore, let's provide the route, and the way we provide the route is / and the ID of that employee that we want to edit. So now if we hit send, John should be converted to Mary. So let's send this, and we received a message saying employee was updated successfully. So let's check. Let's go ahead and call our get method again. Okay. And now hit send. Now this John Smith should be changed to Mary Peters. Let's check. Yes, so John is now become Mary, and even if you want to check your database, you can go ahead and run the query again, and John is turned to Mary. Now what we want to do is make sure that if the employee, let's say, didn't exist, so are we getting this error that employee was not found? So what we can do is we can go to our database, go to our table, right click, edit data, and now what we want to do is select this Mary and right click and delete the row. That's it. So employee is deleted now. Now what we want to do, we know that ID 19 doesn't exist anymore, and we can double check that on Postman by again calling a get request. So it doesn't exist, and we are getting an empty array. Now if we go back to a put method and go to a body, we know that Mary doesn't exist anymore. So ID 19 doesn't exist. So if somebody is trying to send a request to delete ID or edit ID 19, it doesn't exist. So let's see 19 for API / employee / 19, the put request, and now I should get an error saying, hey, the employee was not found. Let's see. Let's test this. See, I get the error employee was not found. You can add additional error handling exceptions, and you can find a lot of information on that on Microsoft's website as well as many other websites. You can just Google it. So now what we want to do is test our last API, that is the delete. So delete, but as you know, we don't have any employee in our database because we deleted Mary. So let's go ahead and call the post method again, go to the body and create John Smith again. So let's send this again. John Smith was created. Call our get method, run it again, and we have John with the new ID, that is 20. Now I don't like John, so I'm going to delete John. So I'm going to call the delete method, and for delete I need to provide the ID of the employee that I want to delete. So /, the way I do that is, and the ID of John is 20. So 20. So what I want to do is I want to delete the ID of John. So I don't need to provide any other information in my body. So my row will be empty. I just need to provide the ID of the employee that I want to delete. So I hit send, and I should get a message saying employee was deleted successfully. So let's test this. Employee was deleted successfully. Let's double check it to make sure it was. So let's do the get request again. We get an empty array. Let's check our database, which is Azure Data Studio. Run this, and that's it. No errors. No employee exists. Now what we want to do is we want to also check if we are getting employee not found error. So what we can do is try to run the delete request again, because we know 20 doesn't exist. So send this, and we are getting 404 not found. That means the requested resource was not found. So Mr. John Smith with ID 20 doesn't exist. So we are getting an error not found. So in this way, we can test our APIs. We can add additional exceptions, and you can add validations and when you're creating your employees and lots of stuff, and you can then test your APIs using Postman. It's a very powerful application that the developers use to test their web APIs. And since this video tutorial doesn't cover Postman in detail, so we will be ending this tutorial here on how to create a ASP.NET CRUD application on a Mac. In my upcoming videos, I will also post how to create a full-fledged application on ASP.NET Core 2.1 on a Mac. And that should be it for this video tutorial. If you like this video tutorial series, please like and subscribe my channel so that I can upload more stuff, more tutorials. Thank you for watching. And finally, before I close, I just want to mention that if you do get any errors, always check that your Docker container is up and running and your SQL container, your container which contains the SQL instance, is always running before you call your web APIs. That's it. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.